Hello, I'm Amrita, and in today's session, we will be covering the topic types of dryers and their suitability for different products. So, starting with this, we will discuss what is drying. So, drying is an important and traditional process to remove the moisture from the food by evaporation. So, in this technique, with the help of evaporation, we are removing the moisture content of the food material. The principal reason is that microorganisms such as bacteria, fungi, mold require water for the growth and multiplication. So, when the moisture content is lowered, it will make the food sustain for a more period, that it increase its shelf life, and also it help us to keep it for a long time. So drying and dehydration is an ideal process applicable to all food materials such as fruits, vegetables, cereals, pulps, milk, meat, egg, etc. The moisture is an important factor in agriculture and food material, affect that shelf life of the product, which is due to the microbial spoilage, oxidation, and physical structure of the food. And drying is of two types, that is thermal drying and non-thermal drying. In thermal drying, we heat is used to evaporate the moisture content from the food, and in non-thermal process as squeezing, uh, adsorption by desiccant, extraction. These are the three methods under non-thermal drying. And when you're talking about the mechanism of drying, diffusion, vapor diffusion, condensation diffusion, hydrostatic pressure difference, and combination of all of the above are the mechanism of drying. Now, purpose of drying. Why we need drying? In food technology, drying is carried out for one of more than following reasons. To avoid or eliminate moisture which may lead to microbial activity and increase the product stability or decrease the product stability, to reduce the cost of transportation of large volume materials, to make the material easy or more suitable for handling, preservation. Drying also results in the production of food such as instant coffee, instant noodles, and also storage of product makes product available during off season. And when you're talking about the classification of dryers, we can classify dryers on different criteria, just like mode of operation, heat input type, state of material and dryer, operating pressure, drying medium, drying temperature, relative motion between drying medium and solids, number of stages, the residence time. So according to all these criteria, dryers can be classified into different classes. So here I discuss about the classification based on solid handling, that is material not agitated and material agitated. In material not agitated, static wet dryer, and that is again divided into batch type and continuous type. And in material agitated, we have moving wet dryers, fluidized wet dryer, and pneumatic dryers. Another classification is based on heat transfer, that is convection, conduction, radiation, dielectric, and combined modes. And in this session, we are going to discuss about these types of dryers, that are tray dryer, tunnel dryer, fluidized bed dryer, spray dryer, freeze dryer, drum dryer, solar dryer, and vacuum dryer. So now we are going to discuss what is tray dryer or cabinet dryer or pan dryer. In tray dryer, a shallow trays are kept one above the other, and there is a gap between this tray that is generally 40 mm. And this dryer is used to dry vegetable and semi-perishable dry fruits, chili, spices, pepper, etc. The tray may be perforated, have a perforated bottom or not. And this gap between the trays permit the air ventilation. Food may be loaded on tray or pan comparatively in very thin layer, that is up to few centimeter. Fresh air enters the cabinet, is drawn by the fan through the heater coil and blown across the food tray to exhaust. Air is heated by indirect method. Screens filter out any dust particle present in the food, and air passes across between the trays. Air is exhausted into the atmosphere after one pass, and rather than being recirculated, because when we recirculate, it consists of the moisture, already consists the moisture, so it reduces its effect or it reduces its efficiency. So the working condition, it may run up to 20 feet tray height and temperature is 95 degrees Celsius. Air velocity is equal to 2.5 to 5 meter per second and time is equal to 10 to 20 hours. So these are the pictorial representation of tray dryer. And its advantage, tray dryer is suitable for drying sticky material, granular, mass or crystalline material, simple design, no loss of substance during handling, good control of heat and humidity, it may be operated under vacuum. Disadvantage, uneven drying of product at different locations within system, time required for drying is more, high labor costs involved during the loading and unloading material. Next, it is tunnel or continuous belt dryer. These dryers are most commonly used for dehydrating fruit and vegetable. For large operation, tunnel dryers with elongated cabinet through which trays on cart paths are used. Hot air blown across the tray. Typical tray loading for wet vegetable is in the order 10 to 30 kilogram per meter square. The product trucks are moved through the tunnel at a rate required to maintain the residence time so that it gets dehydrated. So, when talking about the type of tunnel dryer, counter current tunnel dryer, concurrent flow tunnel dryer, and continuous tunnel dryer. So, first of all, what is concurrent tunnel dryer? In this, incoming tray and incoming hottest, driest air travel in the same direction. In this, rapid initial drying and slow final drying cause case hardening and internal split and porosity at center, which sometimes desirable for certain products. Used for drying material that containing high moisture content, heat sensitive. And next, it is counter current tunnel dryer. Wet food cart move from left to right. The drying air moves across the tray from right to left. This is counter flow. uh, Pattern in which the hottest and driest air contacts a nearly dry product, whereas the initial drying of entering card get cooler, moist air that has cooled and picked up moisture passing through the tunnel. A smaller temperature gradient exists near the product entering the tunnel. Products is likely to undergo case hardening or surface shrinkage. Overall efficiency of the counter current system is higher than concurrent. Next, this is the pictorial representation of concurrent system and counter current system. Next, it is continuous tunnel dryer. Carts and trays can be moved through a heated tunnel so as a continuous belt may be driven through the tunnel or oven enclosure with a great number of designs are possible. Now next, its advantage, easy to handle, lesser capital costs, disadvantage, non-uniform drying of product at different location, time required for drying is more, high labor costs involved in loading and unloading of drying material. Next, it is drum or roller dryer. In this, the liquid food or the purees or paste or smash are dried using this kind of dryer, generally heated from within by steam. So dryers may have a single drum or a paired drum. In case of double dry, the food applied is in between the gap of the two dryer. Food is applied continuously and thin layer loses moisture. At a point on the drum, there will be a blade which scrap out this dried product, and they are called scraper blade. And the speed of the drum is so regulated that the layer of food will dry when it reaches the blade, which also referred to as doctor blade. So the layer of food is dried in one revolution of the drum, that is scrapped from the drum before the position of the drum returned to the point where the food is applied. Using steam under pressure in the drum, the temperature of some segments may be well above 100 degree Celsius and often is held at above 150 degrees Celsius. That layer of thickness of food should be less than 2 mm and drying time is less than 1 minute. Milled potato smashes can be dried in this method, and its advantage, the product have good porosity and hence good rehydration due to boiling evaporation. Drum dryers can dry very viscous food, least expensive dehydration method. When we're talking about the disadvantage, restrict the kind of food to which it is applicable. Give food a more cooked flavor and color. Drying temperature can be lowered by incorporating vacuum chamber, but it increases the cost. This is the pictorial representation of single drum dryer and double drum dryer. Next, it is fluidized bed dryer. A fluidized bed drying Heated air is blown up through the food particle with enough force to suspend the particle in a gentle boiling motion. Hot air is introduced at high pressure through the perforated bed of moist solid particle. The wet solids are lifted from the bottom and suspended in a stream of air, and it is called fluidized state. Heat transfer is accomplished by direct contact with the wet solid and the hot gas. So the vaporized liquid is carried away by the drying gas. Sometimes to save energy, the moist air is partially recycled. The moist air is exhausted at the top. The process is continuous and the length of the time particles remain in the dryer can be regulated by the depth of the bed and other means. Used to dehydrate grains, peas, and other granular material, also applicable for solution paste. And talking about the principle of fluidized bed dryer, to provide sufficient air pressure to fluidize a thin bed is called the critical fluidization velocity of the product, giving excellent air grain contact above a certain pressure related to weight per unit area of the product bed. The pressure drop across the bed become constant with volume flow rate so that fast drying occur. This is the pictorial representation of fluidized bed dryer. And next, when we're talking about its advantages and disadvantages, advantage: continuous and easy equipment performance, used for large scale, lack of moving parts, good heat and mass transfer, uniformity of drying, reduced drying time. Disadvantage: a possibility of product loss, drying sticky material is quite difficult. And talking about vacuum drying is a process in which material are dried under reduced pressure and lower relative humidity, which lowers heat needed for rapid drying. Vacuum drying is generally used for the drying of substances which are hygroscopic and heat sensitive. Vacuum drying is divided into hollow trays, uh, which increase surface area for heat conduction. The oven door is locked airtight and is connected to vacuum pump to reduce pressure. Operation pressure can be low as 0.0296 to 0.059 bar, at which pressure water boils at 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. When talking about the advantage and disadvantage, advantage is easy operation, easy for batch process of different compounds. Various modes can be used for heating. Disadvantage: low heat transfer efficiency, limited capacity, and more expensive. This is a pictorial representation of vacuum dryer. Next, spray dryer. Spray dryer are limited to food that can be atomized, such as liquid food or low viscous paste and purees. Atomization: the process which converts liquid into minute particles. Moisture removal from the liquid food occur after atomized or spraying into heated air within a drying chamber, while liquid food droplets are moving with the heated air. The water vapors and carried away by the air dried product. The inlet air temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. The operation pressure range of pressure nozzle is 250 psi to 10,000 psi. This method of dehydration can produce high quality material with many heat sensitive materials including milk, egg, coffee. Thermoplastic substances such as juice, high in sugar, when dry, melt and stick and build up on the wall. For this, double wall spray dryers are used in which cool water are circulated in the. This is a pictorial representation of spray dryer. So the advantage and disadvantages: continuous, easy to control process, rapid and non-contact drying, good property of spray dried powder so it can be easily compressed to tablet, labor cost is low. Disadvantage: spray dryer is bulky and also expensive to install. It is difficult to clean after use. It has a low thermal efficiency, that is a lot of heat is wasted during operation. Solid material cannot be dried. In a freeze dryer is also known as lyophilization. It is a process in which material is freezed, then high pressure vacuum is applied to sublimate the water in the form of vapor. Coffee was first freeze-dried food product to be produced, but now vegetable, fruits, meat, fish, dairy products, herbs, and food flavoring can be freeze-dried. In this, food first frozen at minus 18 degrees Celsius on a tray in the lower chamber of the freeze dryer, and the frozen material dried under high vacuum, that is 0.1 mm Hg, in the upper chamber. Condition of sublimation: ice exists below the triple point, that is 0.01 degrees Celsius and 610.8 Pascal. Triple point: temperature at which three states of matter coexist. So this is the pictorial representation of uh, freeze dryer, and these are some pictures of freeze dried products. Next, its advantages: minimum damage of heat sensitive material, easy dehydration, high quality products are formed, minimum structural change of shrinkage, it retains most of the original flavor and nutrients of the food, long storage period. Disadvantages: high cost, it take longer time, require higher energy consumption. And last but not least, solar dryer. Solar dryer device that use solar energy to dry substance, especially food. There are two general type of solar dryer, that is direct and indirect. So when you're talking about the direct solar dryer, in this the substance is kept on a black absorbing surface, and the sunlight is collected and converted to heat, and the substance to be dried is placed directly on the surface. These dryers may have enclosure, glass covers, or vent in order to increase its efficiency. In indirect solar dryers, the black surface heats incoming air rather than directly heating the substance to be dried. This heated air is then passed over the substance and exits through a chimney, taking moisture from the substance with it. This is the pictorial representation, and with operation temperature, scale of operation, need of solar collectors, and type of commodities of the two type of solar dryer. So in this, the operation temperature is almost equal, but the efficiency is much more to the indirect dryer. And there is no solar collector in the direct one, but there is a solar collector in the indirect one, because after collecting the uh, solar energy, it is applied to the, or it is given to the food product, so it get dried. So these are the pictorial representation of indirect heaters and direct solar heater. So advantages: save fuel and electricity, low installation and operating costs, risk of spoilages food is less, simple design. Disadvantage: cannot be used in windy and rainy season, not workable at night, efficiency decreases to a large extent on cloudy days, overheating may occur if regular attention is not paid, overheating can cause quality defect, change in taste and flavor of the food may occur. So, as a conclusion of this session, drying is a process of simultaneous heat and mass transfer. To obtain the dehydrated product of high quality, drying process should be such that it allows effective retention of color, appearance, flavor, taste, and nutritive value compared to a fresh vegetable. The technique of drying is probably the oldest method of food preservation practiced by mankind for the extension of food shelf life. The use of artificial drying preserve agricultural commodity is expanding, creating a need for more rapid drying technique and method that result the large amount of energy required in drying process. And that's these are some references, and thank